Hello, everybody.
Hello and welcome. Is it that Monday night time again?
Oddly enough, it is.
You know what? I get the funniest feeling this happens every single week.
Nah, deja vu.
Okay, one of those things. But do we have an interloper?
We,
You're,
we,
you're, you're normally a little closer to me, but you seem to be a long way away. There's someone in the middle.
there is somebody in the middle. And do you know why there's somebody in the middle? Because
Do
sometimes when we debate things, we need to have an educator, someone who can sit between us and pretty much tell us we're both wrong, even though we know for a fact we're right. And that is the job of the Screenager today.
Evening, everyone. I'm Screenager. I have coffee and I've got a sore finger, apparently.
and today you're going to be the jam in the MMOBuff sandwich.
That sounds so messy and, yeah,
No,
so Freudian. What?
no, we are not going
What?
there.
I'm
Pre-show
referring
conversations.
to. I'm referring to food here. I have no idea what you're talking about. I'm just hungry. I've not eaten yet. A jam sandwich would be good right about now.
Oh, good
Frankly,
grief.
it sounds like you're saying a jihadi sandwich, so I just wouldn't continue that.
No, we definitely don't want one of those.
No.
Right.
Hold on. We have to say hello to a couple people because it's really, really important to get these hellos out there. First off, a massive, massive hello to Adverto, who has been around for almost an hour chatting with me pre-show about this topic, which we're going to be going in tonight. And, that kind of interaction is what we're looking for. It's not just, we're not here to talk to each other. Technically speaking, we are. But in the end, we're here to actually engage with you guys as well. So do remember, if you have questions, comments, or anything else that you want to have us catch up on, put a Q and a colon in front of it, and it will ding up on my little dashboard, and I'll be all like, oh, but someone has said something. And for some reason, I'm being mystical and magical today. And it could be because I've been playing Dragon Age Origins. I'm sorry.
Right then.
Is that how you control the character? I always use a keyboard and mouse. Maybe that's what I'm doing wrong.
You probably don't have the mental astuity or the intelligence level I do in order to mass mind control my characters in Dragon Age Origins. So
Either that or you're just frankly delirious. But I mean, yeah, you go with that, fine.
There are options here, but it's not for us to say.
anyway, but yes. And then the other hello is also, I am so glad to hear that your internet came back, Cerny, because I noticed that you were saying 35 minutes to get the internet back so you can watch the show live. It's lovely to have you here. And hi, Aussie, as well. And Silico, you are not late. You are just in time to witness mayhem.
Oh no. Now, as the phone is about support, is that why we're all drinking coffee?
You're all drinking coffee. I'm drinking a cherry drink because I like cherries.
Because clearly that's what people in support do, right? All they do is sit around and drink coffee, occasionally hit a button that does an auto-reply type thing, might or might not relate to what people are talking about, and other stuff, yes?
Fang? Did you just go American on me?
Bang!
Fang?
Well, it's clearly the support influence. All those
That sounded a bit
training
more
videos
Welsh
are in
than
American.
American. I think your American sounded more Welsh than American.
Because Welsh American, that's a thing.
Yep.
Thang. And we'll just leave it at that.
Yeah. But yeah, that perfectly describes my day job. I mean, different sector, but pretty much what I do.
We should probably interject the point saying we actually have, I think, all three sides of the support triangle covered for different reasons. I have had occasion to sort of build, design, and implement support systems and help desks and be responsible for them working or not working and what people do
What
or
you
don't
mean is
say.
he's plugged the phone in at the help desk.
Maybe. Actual fact, I raised a remedy ticket for that, and I had someone like you come along and plug it in. Anyway.
I have to throw this out there. I actually, thanks to my husband, know the person who wrote Remedy.
Please do not share his address. I'd like to kill him.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't really know if talking shop here, sorry everyone in the chat, we're actually getting off to something that's completely unrelated to MMO Buff. We're just going to talk IT support shop.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Yeah.
How can you abuse me today? Welcome to IT Technical Support.
Indeed.
And,
I should just throw in, Remedy is one of the popular tools that's used to manage support systems.
Mhm.
So when you raise your ticket number 134722, we'll get back to you in 17 hours, it has to sit somewhere. So someone can do stuff with it, and eventually someone can cross it off.
So this is something that will interface between you and a support team if you're raising a request, if you've got a problem, if you're a player in a game and you have an account issue and you fill in a form on the front end, you might see something like, for example, there was a big water maintenance went on before WildStar went live recently when they moved their NC support to something called Zendesk. Same sort of thing. It looks completely different to the guys on the background, but basically, as far as you're concerned, what it is to them is it's a big off list of all your problems, and it allows them to reply to you or close your ticket.
Or assign
Which
things to different
gets
teams.
you irate.
But
So,
before we get into
yes.
that,
Yes,
I'm going to pause you here, Screen, for a second. We've got all three sides of the triangle. So I've done stuff building some of these systems and being the person who gets shouted at by the higher-ups. You've spent plenty of time, Screen. You know what it's like on the front lines to be dealing with the avalanche of people going, but it doesn't work. Have you plugged it in? And things of that nature. Or, I can't log in. My character's stuck. I want to carry on. I want to game now. My friends are online. Let me in now.
I shall share with you all an article at the end of the show called "Users and Cute Things They Say," which I was reading today. Later.
And Pseudo, of course, you do a lot of work with people designing what support should look like, what users want, understanding needs of users. And it seems to me that that's where we should start, because this show started with a premise. And someone said to us, well, it's an MMO. I expect bleep walrus. The word is now walrus for the rest of the show. I expect walrus support. That's what I'm going to get. It's an MMO. So walrus support it is. Is that good enough?
Perhaps we should define walrus, because walrus could be almost anything. And in all honesty, first off, I want to take my hat off to a woman known as Kaliska online. She specifically asked, I am so used to getting absolutely crap support when it comes to an MMO. That's an
anonymous MMO.
But she says, I'm so used to getting, crap support when it comes to an MMO. It makes a difference what MMO I'm playing. Is this supposed to be the norm? Are we supposed to be content with this? And that's one of the things that started this particular thing. I would state, when it comes to seeking support, it is one of the most frustrating experiences for anybody. Because everyone always believes that their problem is the most important problem in the entire world and that their problem needs to be solved. When in fact, due to how systems actually interact with each other, your problem might actually be caused by something else entirely. And to fix your problem, it may require a complete overhaul of a completely different system. For example, let's pull back to the WildStar thing. And might I add, I am currently wearing my WildStar t-shirt. Yay. But anyway.
Sell it.
Oh, you horrible man.
Clearly it's not epic enough.
And what shirt are you wearing, Screen? Just to throw it out there.
I just plain old black t-shirt,
See, you have style. The rest of us are just name branding. But anyway, so when it came to dealing with the problems that were had with, say, name reservation, people were having problems connecting. There were timeout issues with the gateway. There was a whole bunch of stuff going on. And yet the problem wasn't the system itself inherently. It was something else entirely that had to be fixed in a completely different manner in order to solve the problem. Now, as Adverto says, we had a problem. You owe me free stuff. This is a very common occurrence. If you're paying for a game subscription, most people expect to be paid for something. I remember, maybe you guys do too, back in the day, and Mizpah has a cheesy frozen smile on his face, so something tells me we're going to lose him in a minute. Yeah, we're going to lose him in a second. Look at that cheesy smile. Isn't it great?
It's sort of thing that you want to print out and leave just stuck to someone's ceiling for them to wake up to. It's the stuff of nightmares.
Oh, wow. That's going to completely throw our entire picture all over the place, and it's going to be great. But anyway, so when it comes to, well, there he goes. And here is where we do some live shenanigans. We come to this, and I do this. Ka-ching. Hey, look, there's me. I'm live. And then we also add you. I knew I should have done this ahead of show because I knew Mizpah's connection was going to be flaky. But no, I didn't do that. So, haha. So it's screening me. Okay. So anyway, when it comes back, we'll go back to the original way we do things. But when it comes to getting support, a lot of people feel that they are actually owed something. So if you played WoW back in the day, right, Screen?
Fleetingly till about level 20, then I got. But that's a whole different story. We'll say fleetingly.
But okay, for me, I remember back in the day in WoW when there were some serious troubles that came about from certain patches. And if you went to your account page, you actually saw credited a week, credited a couple days worth of play. They actually had that built in. They didn't tell people that you were getting credit unless you went to check something. It's not like they sat there and advertised the fact that they were giving people quote unquote free game time based on the mistakes that they made. But it is something that has occurred. Now, for you, Screen, have you had a game company give you things just because they've screwed up, so to speak, or there was a mistake in the code?
I think in every MMO I've played, there's been some sort of major... Because I generally don't tend to play anything but with stuff that we class as AAA MMOs these days. Stuff that I'm going to be putting a lot of time into. So when any major AAA MMO launches, there's always some sort of problem. So you always end up being either credited time, or items, or titles, or it varies, but I don't think there's been a single one I've played that I haven't had something, and it varies from let me think, it varies from playtime to titles to, I think I've had gear given to me. I've had
you had a deer?
It wasn't it? Yes, an actual deer. No, gear with the G. They go. Have you ever seen my Star Wars character wearing a deer with antlers coming out the top?
And
you know, it's a whole thing.
I just heard deer, and I'm like, you got deer? And I was trying to figure out.
A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away, I wore a deer.
I'm sorry.
But yes, but yeah, it happens. I don't think anyone who's played the launch for AAA MMO has got by without being credited something. The thing that astonishes me, though, from a personal point of view, is how quick people are to scream for free stuff, yet realistically, the monetary value of the free stuff they're actually owed is pitifully small. We're talking things like, I queued for 12 hours today to get into game. I should get that playtime back. Okay, you go and divide all the hours in your monthly subscription and give them 12 hours. So what are you going to get? Like 30 pence back?
If that. In fact, now I kind of want to pull out a calculator and figure it out.
You want if you can find some elevator music, myself and the chat will sit and wait on you.
Well, okay.
She's doing it anyway.
I'm doing it anyway. I am doing it. And let's see. Let's pick a typical subscription amount. 15?
15 quid will do.
15 quid. Okay. So we have a 15 quid subscription. How many hours are there in a week?
So what, there's 24 and 7 in my mental arithmetic. This is what I have computers for. I'm not even going to try and embarrass myself. I've given you enough time to do it on the computer. The thing is,
if you have a $15 subscription, makes no difference whether it's dollars, euros, or anything else like that, you have on a day-to-day basis, if we put an average of every month being 30 days, you're paying 50p a day to play. Now, if you want to divide that by 24, go right ahead, because you're not going to be getting much. So let's see. If we divide that by 24 because of the days, you're not even paying 2 cents, 2 pence for an hour's worth of play.
2 pennies?
Oh, 2 pennies?
Hold on. I'll find 2 pence.
You actually
I don't even have 2 pence. Oh wait, no, that's because I'm Scottish. No,
hey, memory dump.
I'm cheap.
And I think Mizpah might be back. I think I saw his name, but then he may have just disappeared again. Hopefully we'll get Mizpah back. Weird connection issues he's been having. But anyway. So, we know that when we seek customer support, one of the most frustrating things, and of course I'm taking the perspective of I am seeking the support. I am the user. I want a good user experience. There are 3 things that I look for when it comes to support. 1, an answer to my problem. 2, a quick response. And 3, respect.
Mm-hmm.
Now, unfortunately, it is very difficult to get all three. At least it seems that way. Now, for you who has to take all of these support calls, what is your thoughts? I mean, is that what you guys want to give to the people who get in touch with you? Is that what you're told by the big bosses and the management? Make certain when you get a support request, you deliver these three things: timely service,
Right.
respect, and an answer.
Right. Well, let's be honest. I can't speak for every MMO company that's out there and every gaming company, and cultures vary. And cultures vary within companies as well, depending on what support site you get, how much certain areas are being paid, and how much certain individuals are, how certain individuals are managed. But what I can say is I did many years after university as a frontline support agent, i.e. I'm the guy on the phone, I'm the guy on the instant chat, I'm the guy in email, and the level of service varies massively amongst different people depending on how much experience they've got with the systems and the product they're supporting. But one thing stays relatively consistent amongst most support structure environments, and that is something called a KPI, Key Performance Indicator. That Key Performance Indicator for most support structures is number of tickets closed. They want to see, generally, when a support structure is measured, the people at the top, they like seeing graphs, and they like seeing graphs that say, we took loads of calls and loads of calls got closed, and the week after that, even more calls got closed. And then once those targets got met, they then move, the whole thing shifts to, we answered these calls quicker, and we continued to get more calls closed, and we took more calls, and we resolved them even quicker, and then we resolved them quicker with less staff. And there's always a push on numbers, because metric performance and metric measurement is a great way to, it's a great tool, but from a support structure point of view, it's massively overused and it's heavily relied upon. Now, this might seem like it's wandering off the whole topic of gaming, but what this reflects is, well, it does, because I'm taking it from the point of view of someone who's worked in technology at the front lines before, and what this does, this reflects on things that you see as a customer. So as a customer, you put a support ticket in, and you are waiting. I don't know, say you expect a 24-hour turnaround for a ticket response. It's very hard on agents who are being measured on call turnaround time for them to meet your 24-hour turnaround and give you in-depth analysis of your problem. Invariably, support agents, I'm going to be honest, invariably there's a good proportion of the calls that come into a support desk. A lot of them are easy fixes, a lot of them are easy wins. So there will be people who have locked their account out. There'll be people who didn't think that they needed to apply codes, people didn't read things. A lot of stuff that you would consider common sense. The thing is that when you see a lot of support tickets that are common sense fixes, i.e. Mr. Stupid Ass X or Miss Dumb Y didn't think that they need to, I don't know,
update their
look
video
after their
drivers.
It's not even that, not even stuff like that. That's not the stuff that Jade's support agents. The stuff that Jade's support agents is stuff like, I forgot my password. It's the same for everything.
Yeah.
Right. Or, oh, I flushed my phone down the toilet and my authenticator's on it. This is your fault. Why is it my fault? This is the sort of stuff. Now, the reason that I'm saying that is because when you got a large volume of tickets, you got quite a balance between things like quality of support, because support agents can't provide time, and because the more tickets you get from, I'm sorry, but the more tickets you get from Mr. Stupid, the less likely you are to assume that the person logging the ticket isn't Mr. Stupid in the first place. It's
well,
unfortunately it's a hard thing to do.
see, this is the thing. When it comes to support, let's start off. A game has just come out, okay? And
Yeah.
my heart goes out, by the way, to Mizpah, who is currently trying to contact us through chat for tech support. When you can get in, Miz, we're ready for you. Just know that. Okay. When someone contacts tech support and the game has just come out, there are going to be some common known issues which are found out usually during beta testing. For example, some people may know that when you click this red button, you will auto disconnect and you have to log back in, but then you're able to continue. There are going to be certain
quick
things
note to people who are new to MMOs: if anyone says Alt F4 will make it go faster, okay.
They
continue.
are lying. In fact, that whole Alt F4 thing goes way back in the day to IRC. Just so that if anybody wants a real history of the internet,
No one wants your museum tour. Carry on to the future.
Well, some of us archaic people bring knowledge. But anyway, when people contact, what ends up happening is a lot of people will end up, and Mizpah is going to have to fix his camera because right now it's showing the wrong thing. However, when most people contact support, if you get yourself a response that says something common sensey, it usually means that that's the only thing that the tech support is aware of that can solve a problem. It could be an auto response or not. And in fact, most of the time, the reason why the metrics that you were talking about, Screenager, are in use is because once you have a solution to a problem, you don't want to have to keep repeating the same solution over and over and over, so you'll get an autoresponder. One of the worst things that can happen is if you get an autoresponder to an issue that was not what you sent your ticket in the first place. And that can happen. In fact, it's someone had said, they've had that problem with the support that they had with WildStar. I'm going to wager that in that particular case, one of three things happened. One, the person who read the ticket was thinking about something else and accidentally hit the wrong button and sent the wrong autoresponder, which tends to happen if you are really pushed for time and you're trying to help as many people as possible. Two, they may have read it and not understood what the actual problem was. And sometimes that does happen because you have to have an understanding of what a problem is to send a response to really solve it or to glean more information about it. Or three, they didn't know how to use the system yet. Because like you said, they've just moved into a new system and some people need to be taught how to use things. So now we've had pre-show, we were talking to Adverto, and I'm getting a really interesting echo all of a sudden. But pre-show, we were talking to Adverto, and one of the things that he had pointed out was, there's already some things that go on in support world. For example, they're overworked, the support people, so give them a break. This is when support doesn't do their job properly. Now, he strongly disagrees with that statement, and I couldn't agree with him more on this. One of the most difficult things.
Let's have this.
One of the most difficult things when it comes to doing support is giving the right amount of support to the right people. That is a very difficult thing to make a judgment call on. But I will state one of the worst things that you could ever do is blanket statement anything. And that's what some people do. I will say there are going to be times when you are working with support, it is okay to get angry because they have pushed the envelope. There are occasions when it is okay to go, maybe they're just having a rough time right now. I'll be patient. But I know some people in certain games who have made contact with support where they have had a 3-month conversation to try to get an issue solved because it seemed like every single time they were sent another email, the support person didn't give a flying fuck and just kept sending autoresponders for the wrong thing. When you have something like that, you can't say they're overworked. At that point in time, that's just stupid. That means the people who are training support need to go back and retrain their support. There's something wrong in the system there, inherently.
That's a fair shout. On the other hand, I will certainly say there are no end of support agents that are completely overworked. I will give you an example.
I agree with that.
I will give you a personal example. At one point in time, I was working service desk, and I used to take phone calls while doing email tickets, whilst piloting a live chat system. So I used to have 4 users on one screen, email in the middle screen, remedy for phone calls on the other screen, and someone in my ear that I'd be talking to at the same time. And I had to still do all basically five calls at once over 3 screens with one remedy system, and I was just expected to deal with that. I just did it. There was no accounting for you piloting this system. You can do this and get off it. No, you're on the phones. Anything else you do is on your own head. So, Mizpah, thank God we can't hear you.
You're not suggesting you can actually multitask, are you, Screen?
I'm actually going to suggest you're using the wrong mic.
Bye.
Let's see.
Right, so who in chat thinks Miz needs to log a technical support ticket? Because frankly, at this point, but no, there are no end of overworked technical support agents. In fact,
I
in all
agree
honesty,
with that. But
I would go on.
Wouldn't it be sort of along the lines to also state that if you were going to get a job in technical support, customer support, or anything along those lines, it is your responsibility to still see each ticket through individually. You know, if you have a ticket show up on your screen, it is still your job responsibility to try to make certain that you deal with that particular. Okay, now see, I would agree with that. Because like Mizpah has set up support structures for people and for companies. I have done the same thing for smaller companies with the entire intent being the user getting the help that they need. And I will state one of the incredibly frustrating things is trying to set up a support system when a company's ethos doesn't give much love to the support team. I get angry at companies that don't support their support team.
Yeah, and if I now have a voice,
you do.
That now work.
And you do sound better.
A bit of on-the-fly technical support, reinitializing cameras, microphones, and back in 2 shakes of a walrus's tail, apparently.
And you
sorry about that, folks.
I also want to throw out Screen. I appreciate the tech support people. I do. I really, really do. I want you to know that. Mainly because I am tech support myself for quite a few things. I just saw your comment in chat. Don't mind me. I'm just going to sit here and protect and defend tech support. Do so. They need it because too many companies don't seem to care about their support team.
Well, let me just throw something in about ethos, because you touched on it a moment ago, Pseudo. And I don't know your experience with this Screen, whether you feel you've been on both sides of this coin or not. But a company has to decide support. Is it simply a cost, or is it a value-added thing they use to help deliver a service? Is support there just so they can close tickets, or is support there to lead to happier customers and better overall business? And they're very different in how they're approached by management.
I think this relates very much to the income stream that a company's got. I think a company with an income stream that's relatively large and steady, I don't know, Blizzard, is in a position where they can salary support staff, and they can bring in support staff. They can keep a steady number on book, and they can train them to an extent that they're going to be keeping them long term. You can understand when other companies that have a fluctuating system that is a different sort of payment model may not necessarily be able to do anything more than bring contract or pay offshore companies to provide auto response support, and you can kind of understand that because it reflects what you're paying for a game at the end of the day. Can you expect great support from a company that you have, I don't know, say for example you have not paid for it, or in fact you've just paid for the box one time, it's 3 years down the road? Can you expect that you've invested any more than say $40 over 3 years to be getting support in 24 hours, whereas somebody who say has played Warcraft for 3 years, bought 3 expansion sets and paid $15 a month, they may expect a much higher support level than someone who's done that. I think this reflects the company that you are dealing with at the end of the day. And I ironically, from personal experience, have had my best support from a buy-the-box payment model company, and I've had my worst experience customer support from a company that were a subscription-based company. So that kind of turns everything I'm saying on its head. But putting that to one side, logically, you would expect that a support staff would be better supported and have better tools to be able to provide better support based on the amount of revenue that someone's bringing in.
So I'm going to throw a question out there. I'm not going to answer it yet, but I do know the range of answers. And I'd like your thoughts and the channel's thoughts before we leave this topic. Maybe do one more and return to this. What do you think the cost is of an inbound support call? And I think this will really surprise people. So if you're a company and you're providing a service, let's just say for argument's sake, you've made, I don't know, Headless Chicken the MMO. And you decide that you want to provide support. And metrics, the numbers, the things you have to look at and measure is what is the cost to you as a company for each inbound support call? And if you're running a company, you've got to say, should I be paying this cost? Is it worth it to me? Do I get to retain customers? Do I get new business? Is it just a pure cost sink? If so, should I be doing it a different way? Lots of things like that. Average out for me what you think a phone support average cost is.
Sorry, would you like to rephrase this question? Would you like to rephrase this question to, would you like to turn the lights out and have a crapshoot at that number? Because that's what you're asking. Actually, I think, is it not a couple of dollars or something that a support call?
No,
I can't remember.
It's not a couple of dollars or something.
It's actually
There's
a
very
lot
big
more.
range. And this is why I'm throwing it out there, because it relates so well to what you were just saying about resources and supporting things. And I'd love some guys in the channel to give me their guesses. And then in a minute, I'll give people a standardized range, UK, US.
So
And
that's
this is why
for
I'm
you
not.
guys.
This is why I don't manage stuff. I fix.
Now the thing
And this is why his videos broke, and I'm still here. He knows how much it cost him to get it working.
Well, see,
and then saw the cost later.
The thing is, when you start talking about any kind of return on investment or any kind of, you have to invest something into a call. You have to invest something into the hardware, which a lot of people, I think, forget about. I think people tend to forget that a phone call, even if it is toll-free for you, costs somebody something. And then you have to take care of the fact that you've got training for your support. Then you've got the individual themselves. And you've got the systems in place that are actually using to handle all of these support systems, whether that's some kind of PBX standardization of, break-off branch calling or something like that. You've got that. You've had to average into the cost. You also have to average into the cost the output of it. Is if a customer walks away happy, are they more likely to continue using what you've got? Or are they going to walk away frustrated and you're spreading word of mouth? And in today's day of viral things, you could lose an entire company based on one support ticket going wrong. You have to be very, very careful. So there's an awful lot of features that a lot of people don't even think about with that. Then you've got the teams, and you've got the places where you're putting the teams, the connections the teams use to connect to all of these things, someone handling the actual management of those hardware, software, what have you. You're looking at so many things that are going on just to make certain one person can answer your phone call. And so many people forget that. Some people may think it's just $1, depending upon the type of support you are offering, because that has to be taken into account. But depending upon the type of support you're offering, it actually gets, in my opinion, almost astronomical if you try to break it down, depending upon the systems you're using. And a lot of people think that that is an easy cost to cover, and they forget. And this is one of the things we try to stress in a lot of our shows. In fact, it's one of the things we were stressing in our Top Draw show on Saturday. When it comes to getting customer support and things like that, or trying to have any kind of support, you have to lose resources. You have to give up time. You have to give up an individual's attention when they could be, say, working on QA. They're instead answering, support tickets, etc. You have to have a give and take, and it is a lot more costly than people think. That's my 2 cents on it. Now, if you'd like me to give a rough price range on it, I'd be happy to.
Let's have your guess, Pseudo. In fact, what I'm going to do. In fact, no one else can see it. I was going to type it in advance, but then you'd all see it, see how close you can get. But I know what these numbers are, so...
Okay, so we're talking
at
about
least
an average...
standardized by industry.
Are we talking about just an average for an MMO? Or are we talking about... Because, again, type of support will actually have a huge impact.
Yeah. I'm talking about interactive telephone support where the agent has tools, things like databases to look up answers and things like that, and a wide range of possible inputs. And I'm assuming, slightly technical here, one level of triage. One level of someone
I
going.
haven't even gotten into the
pick up
triage.
phone.
Okay.
Apologies. I don't know what you have or haven't done up till this point. So triage. It's a little bit like when you go to casualty and you get annoyed because you've got to sit there for 18 hours because you broke your toe. You do need to go and get it checked. Casualty, you do have a broken toe. It does hurt. But you're going to have to wait behind the guys with the gunshot wounds because that's pretty reasonable. Now, support tickets are less extreme, but they do something very similar. If you cannot play the game in MMO terms, if your character is stuck, if you cannot interact and get the service you're paying for, that goes reasonably high up the ticket list. If the server is off and 10,000 people can't log in, a little bit higher. And if you'd like your item restored, or you'd like your account back because it's been possibly gold spamming, it's vital to you, but it has to sit somewhere in that hierarchy. Now, someone gets to say, where is it? Where does it go? Who deals with it? And that's called triage.
We're talking about support. I've literally just received an automated WildStar response. Literally 2 minutes ago. Fate would have it.
Fantastic. How fantastic. Okay, so I would throw out there that, and this is going on roughly what I know of some things, I would say that a typical phone call coming in would average between 150 to 350 quid. And I put this in quid terms because I'm living in the United Kingdom. So you calling in because you forgot your password is something that could range for roughly 350 and up, I'd actually say. Yeah. It's an incredibly expensive process.
Your thoughts, Screen?
Take a guess. Stab in the dark.
Look, in all seriousness, I don't develop these systems. I'm not aware of how much it costs.
That's the thing. This is all big exercises. A couple dollars?
No, I said I took a guess. I took a guess at a couple of dollars, and then Miz said, no. In all seriousness, I don't build these systems. I work at the front end, and I get salary paid at the end of the day, or contract paid, whatever it is.
But you have to remember, you are part of the cost to that ticket, to that phone call.
Yeah, and I do a damn lot of it. No,
and how many systems do you use, and how many licenses need to be paid for those people to use, say, Remedy or Zendesk or anything else like that?
Yeah, okay. I'm sure there are, and how much something costs all depends on how you measure it. But at the end of the day, I don't know how someone like Miz is going to measure that. So frankly, I don't know. But why doesn't he put us out of our misery and tell us?
I'm going to. Okay, 70-30 rule applies as well. You're going to get some tickets of 30% that are just silly in terms of support cost and resources they take up and take up.
Mr. Silly Pants, one of those tickets from Screenager earlier on the show for those who are curious.
Okay. You're a little high, Pseudo. You're not quite as high as people might be thinking. And there are going to be tickets in that 30% that hit those numbers and go beyond those numbers. You know, if you've got to write a patch and reissue a piece of software to fix something because you got it wrong, depends where you put that cost. You don't always put it down to support. Sometimes you put it back into development. But the stuff where it includes the password resets. It includes the time on the phone. We used to allow for 8 minutes 20. That's a single resolution call. It includes picking it up, dealing with it, assigning it, creating a ticket, closing the ticket, speaking to the person, and whatever needs to happen in terms of output and reporting. 8 minutes 20. That 8 minutes 20, let's do it in dollars, because it's actually more understood in those terms, 54. 8 minutes 20 of human time, $54 by the time you include licenses, infrastructure, power, computers, donuts, coffee machines, whatever it is the tech support guys need to keep running. Hey, if you provide your tech team with donuts every single day to keep them motivated, I know it's a cliche, but hey, we don't object to them. It's part of the cost. And lots of little things add up rapidly. And you do want your tech support guys to have donuts, don't you? You're going to have other calls that go way beyond. But that is a realistic average. Now, it does scale. But then so do the cost of the tools at the enterprise level.
Yeah.
If you're providing a level of automated support, the initial cost per user is much higher. That scan the ticket, work out what a 50 response is, put it into quick reference queues, various answer out to someone, use a tool to close 80% of tickets because you need to, you need stuff to do that. Now, if you've only got a handful of users, it's actually even more expensive and it's out of reach. But if you've got a few 100,000 users, that automated support over the long term is way more cost effective. And we all want to turn around and see I want to pick up the phone. I want to speak to a person. I don't want to sit in a queue. What's going on? I want to log in and play. Just let me speak to someone. But you can't necessarily do that all of the time. There's a reason why companies like NCSoft don't publish a support phone number. It's they've worked out their costs and their interactions and their normal day-to-day interfaces based on using tools and automation and people, but replying via things like emails. That cost, harder to standardize, but you can bring it down to sort of the $5 range. And at very big scale, even the $2 or $3 range.
And see, the numbers that I threw out there are based on the fact that I've actually seen what the return of investment is for something like asking for tech support from my husband, who does a very small amount of work on like massive systems, and he's only one tiny piece of a puzzle. He is like second line support for things. So, there is fluctuation in cost. There's no two ifs, ands, or buts about that. But
and if you're dealing with really specialist stuff, let's say you've got 100 support guys in 2 offices. Then you've got 6 second-line teams for various things. You've got 2 third-line teams for various things. And somewhere you've got your Uber architect for when things really go wrong.
that would be Screen.
Charge that Uber architect out at a couple of $1,000s a day. And if you're using him for half an hour, and you have to use him for half an hour, it's a really expensive support ticket. But you want to make sure that only the ones that have to get to him. And challengingly, the ones that do, you want to get to him as quickly as possible.
Yep. It's a very difficult balance, which is why there are so many different support systems out there. If there was one support system that solved all things, then only one company would exist. But there are actually tons out there, and they are specifically designed to have a different metric and measurement. And it's a matter of, is it going to be easier for your support people to use or easier for the management to use to keep track of metrics? Can you do both? Is it something that you can actually have monitoring on automated systems? Does it actually combine with some of the larger enterprise solutions that are out there? Now, you specifically speak MMOs, and at least that's what we're talking about here. MMOs are costly to run. And if you start throwing in support, that is a pain in the rear for cost.
And you've got to decide if support sits in operating costs, where is siloed from customer service. I'm going back into business speak now.
Yes, and I was just about to ask Screen a question.
Go for it. Let's get back to what people want. There's a little bit of the background. Some people might find it interesting, some people might not. But how do you deal with support to interact with people? Or is this what you've just been talking about?
Well, I'm gonna catch you up on this. What it comes down to is when someone contacts support, they want they want 3 things. They want an answer to their problem in a timely manner and be treated with respect. Unfortunately, that's incredibly difficult to get in some cases, because what some people think is the answer is not really the answer. What some people think is quick is not quick to somebody else. And what somebody believes is respect is not respect to somebody else. So it's an incredibly difficult thing to find. But those are 3 key things that people want. When they send in a support ticket, it makes a difference whether they're calling on the phone. It makes a difference whether they're sending in an email or they're filling out that form. Those are 3 things that the user wants.
But Screen, when I look on the internet, all I see people wanting if they can't log in is free stuff. Is that not a 4th these days?
And we did cover a little bit about this. I'll let Screen fill you in on this one.
We did cover the free stuff thing, and we did know, well, the short version, people want free stuff because, well, that's our consumerist society. People want stuff as compensation. But I think what we noted particularly was that the monetary value of what the free stuff that people are actually they actually get is relatively minimal, or the stuff that they reasonably should be allowed to get based on, say, the amount of downtime they've got or items they've lost. It's minimal at best, but people want stuff because they feel aggrieved. And as much as anything, it's for some people it's a way of getting back at a company. For some people, it's a way at feeling like they have compensation. For some people, it's all for some people it's about personal empowerment. But any way you look at it, the monetary value of shouting for free stuff is relatively minimal at the end of the day.
And what we looked at was, if you broke down a subscription, because subscription models are one of the ways to go about doing this, because you have a consistent investment in a game for time and money. There's a significant investment in a subscription model. And in all honesty, after you break it down, you are basically paying not even 2p an hour to really just play a game per month. And if someone can't have access,
Pseudo, it's probably slightly more expensive based on how well she gets to play.
Technically speaking, if you counted now see, this is what you're starting to get into then, is if you break it down by the monetary factors like we were just doing, that's one thing. But if you look at, I have the ability to dedicate a week 4 hours to a game. And my game, let's just say, is $16 a month, 16 quid a month, 16 euro a month, just going for an average figure. That is 1 quid an hour for me to play every month. 1 quid for entertainment. When I could go to a movie and pay 12 quid for a ticket and see probably the worst movie I've ever seen in my life and wonder why and how I get that time back. Now,
this is, although bear in mind, I don't have the show notes. I'm waxing lyrical, but seeing as how Mizpah's out, it shouldn't be too bad for me anyway. Sorry, you are such an easy target. What this does take us down the road of is it does take us down the road of the fact that some people are going to find that bad or support that doesn't meet their expectations, problems that they have, will impact some people more than it will impact others. People who have less time to play necessarily are going to feel that impact more. People who have a more complex problem are going to feel that more. And at what point does this what point does it move less from a time and money issue in terms of, these support agents have lots of tickets, this game's launched, they need to be reasonable, to the stage where it becomes emotionally involving and it starts to not just impact one person, but when they talk to friends, it starts to impact the wider view of other people's view of the game. When it becomes less of just a technical problem that requires an autoresponder or someone at level 2, 3 to fix, and that might be a time cost ratio to look at there, as to something that's starting to impact a community within a game or a group of players, and then that becomes a problem. And at what point, the games companies have to take that into account. A quick example, without naming any names, I looked about 6 months ago at taking Afterlife back into a game that had some changes. Spent about 45 minutes on the phone to an offshore customer support agent, and I wanted to grate my face because the guy couldn't understand what I was talking about, and just after I got my account password back, in fact, it wasn't even hacked, I just wanted to check that it hadn't been hacked, and trying to get him to understand certain things was quite difficult. After that experience, I just went, not happening.
So,
50-player guild, not coming back. Thank you, goodbye. That's even over a course of a month, you've got $120, $150 just gone. Not getting that, thanks, bye.
Okay, so you touched on a number of things. I'm going to rewind what you were saying back to partway through. One thing people should bear in mind, companies and consumers, support is actually technically a tertiary industry, meaning it is a customer service driven service and support industry. It sounds daft, but you are ultimately there to make people feel better about a situation. You're there to hold hands, provide a service, and make the person go, hey, everything's okay now. If you do that well, the person that was aggrieved at the start of the process could come off the end of the process going, these guys are great, let me sub for another year. Simple example. Yet too many people think of it as a box shifting mentality. Phone call in, process, phone call out again, ticking box. Shouldn't work like it. Should be about driving customer satisfaction, about the attitude of the person on the call, and about how they're left feeling at the end of the process. Now, that's one side of the equation. But the other side of the equation is, and this is something I think we really ought to touch on in the time left, is people can educate themselves to act in a certain way to make their support experiences better, and hopefully not even need a support experience in the first place, because then you can be concentrating on playing the game, which is what you're there for. Now, I can dive into this, Pseudo, but you can dive into this as well. What can people do to help themselves?
Okay. I'm going to tell you one of the biggest problems I have with anyone who has ever contacted me for technical support, and this ranges from my mother down to somebody who was just directed to me because it's what my job was in that particular company.
There's a very demanding SLA when doing tech support for mothers. They have a very high-level contract.
No, they do not. No, they do not. Not when you end up spending 12 hours a day doing nothing but tech support for silly things because they think the mouse is supposed to be controlled by their foot. Just saying. No. So one of the biggest problems that I have when I'm on that side of getting that support call is the people who start out by screaming and I actually cannot understand what they're saying. This means if you're going to send a message to me and it's all caps and the technical internet yelling or what have you, it's going to be very difficult for me to actually filter through the slander, the yelling and screaming, the cursing, to actually get to what your real problem is. I can't solve your problem if you throw your emotional baggage at me because I'm not a therapist. It doesn't work that way. I get that you're frustrated. I get the fact that you're angry. I know that feeling. I'm on the other side of the screen often enough. But honestly, be very, very clear about what your problem really is. If your problem is logging in because you are getting a constant network error connection, it might not be your password, so don't contact them and saying, my password's been stolen, I've been hacked. Just go, I am getting this error. This is how it occurs. This is when it occurs. And if possible, and not everybody does this, but this is how often it has occurred. Because that kind of information is incredibly helpful.
Backtrack you to something really important you said, which the conclusion was implied but not explicit.
Oh, I was actually smart? I like this. Mizpah, go on. Do tell me, how smart am I?
You're sitting there, and you've got 2 emails coming in. One with caps lock and screaming and ranting and telling you, you're awful, you're terrible, I hate you, you're the worst thing in the world, and the phone call where you're going, and really I want this done and it doesn't work, and what are you doing to me and I can't log in and I really can't do that, and it's very difficult. Was that a little loud? Sorry. Now, if you're the tech support person, Pseudo, and you can pick up that call, or the one goes, hey guys, sorry, I'm trying to do this, I made a mistake, I'm not sure, but this is happening. Which one are you going to pay more attention to, and which one are you likely to want to fix? There are human beings behind tech support. Treat them like human beings. Realize that their job is to sit there and take your flack. And even if you're not being a walrus, someone else might be, and they may not be having the best of days. Treat those people with a little bit of respect, or even a lot of respect, and you know what? They may have a playbook saying what they can and can't do in support terms, but they'll go above and beyond again and again and again. Act like the screaming imbecile, and you'll be going, what is the bare minimum I can do to close this call and move on? Oh, I'm sorry, you had 10 hours to report that. It's been 10 hours and 2 minutes. Can't do it. Sorry, bye. Next. It's not very hard.
Well, see, this is the thing, you know. How we deal with each other as human beings, in the end, is always going to be for the betterment of either your gameplay or the support's structure. There is nothing better than being on the end of the support line and someone going, thank you so much. I didn't quite understand how this works. I get it now. But there is also something to be said about being on the other side and having a tech support person actually be empathic to you, who actually sits there and goes, Ooh, okay, that is a bit of a trouble. All right, let me see what I can do, because from what it sounds like, this is what I'm getting. Could you want to work with me to make certain that this works, right? Or even an email, someone who has a little bit of a personality. This may seem kind of awkward. I like the support in the chat, web chats and things like that, who put smiley faces in. Who go,
Humanizing.
yeah, I like that, because otherwise I could just be talking to an autoresponder, and maybe it's part of their autorespons. But I had a problem recently, in fact, getting WildStar's game from an online developer or online game company. And, you know, I contacted support, and I had two different support people that I spoke to. One who I swear was a robot, and one who I swear if I met him, I would make him cookies. Because he came across with smiles. He's like, okay, did that solve everything? Hopefully that got everything where you needed it to be. I understand these things kinds of happen. And didn't blame me at all for making a mistake. Didn't blame me at all. They just kind of went, hey, you know, stuff happens. It's not a big deal. We've got it sorted now, right? Are you cool with where we're at? And I'm like, yeah. They're like, cool. That's great. So that's one more thing. Is there anything else I can do for you? It actually shows when they care. When they don't care, it's annoying. So it takes both sides. If you're going to get into a conversation with somebody for tech support, both sides need to be respectful. Otherwise, honestly, you can't get to the root of the problem and solve it. And every time I say this, I keep wanting to go check out my beats while the DJ revolves it, because we're bringing up problem. And it's just, yeah.
So, Screen, right. Before I give you my list, what, from your perspective, can people do to help themselves to make support easier on them?
Right, okay.
Apart from not calling you.
Yeah, but let's do right, okay, I've been serious about this for a moment as well. Don't call, don't write, no. The best thing people can do is, I'd probably say, be as complete and reasonable in a technical sense. Be as complete and reasonable as you can. Approach something with the attitude that you're requesting support, and the support are there to get it fixed for you. At the end of the day, someone on the other end is going to try and fix something for you. White Miz has said, he's right. If you approach something from the perspective that they're there to help you, and that if you help them, they will help you. Reasonably, from my point of view, I always expect people to give. I probably think quite highly, as everyone does when you do the job. I think quite highly of the level of service I give my own customers, and I try to give the best service that I can when I've been working in support desks. And I'll be honest, there are special people that work in support desks too. Special in the walrus sort of way. You will not, let's be honest, you will not always get a good response from support. It will happen. You will get bad response from support. You're more likely to get a quick, good response from support if you approach it to try and help them help you. So give full, clear and accurate information and be patient. I can totally understand if you want to lose the rag. Don't lose the rag on the first step though. Give them a chance to fix something. No, I'm sorry, but I've lost the rag with technical support. I've been given crap service, and
there is
I'm
a line.
I'm much quicker than I would tell other people to be. I have used
but
it.
You work support, so you have the option. When you work support, it's okay to be abusive, right? Right?
I have used, not really, and you shouldn't do it. And I have used it. I have used it. I will go around you to your manager. I can get in contact with them and with two emails. I've used that as well. I have used that. I will not speak to you. I will speak to the manager. But don't lead with that. Never lead with it, because it's not going to get you anywhere. Approach support with the best intentions, because the majority of the time they will respond with the best intentions.
To quote Aussie, and actually this is from a show, and if you know the show, I'll take my hat off to you, but help me to help you. Help me to help you. Help me to help you.
But if the support agent's a dick, then, go nuts.
I'll give you the Mizpah tip of the day briefly on something very similar. There is actually a way on a tech support call of being able to vent, being able to get annoyed, and having the person receiving the call actually like you for it because you're helping them.
Okay, I'm all ears.
Well,
This
I'm
should
good.
be
Yep.
fun.
I'll put that.
Bring it
And I'll
on.
translate what actually goes through the sport agent's head, shall I?
Yeah.
Oh,
So-
wait. Does this mean we can do a
No,
roleplay
we're
scenario?
not role. Get to hell with that idea.
Oh, come on. It is such an awesome idea because, in all honesty, it would be really great. You know, it's sort of like there's comedy shows where you have people do things and then they repeat what's actually going through someone's mind. So that's what we'll do. Mizpah, you can call Screen, get annoyed, and Screen can tell us what's going through his head as the tech support person. It'd be great. Oh, come on. It'd be great. Quick bite, please. Please.
So I'm ringing tech
Sorry,
support,
tech support's
and there's
on a
no
coffee
answer.
break.
They're not there.
Go on, go, Miz. I'm not role playing, but go.
So I ring tech support, and I'm really annoyed because I ordered my walrus, and my walrus didn't turn up on time. And when my walrus turned up, it was the wrong color. And then I tried to log into my walrus, and they put all the wrong things in my walrus, and walrus just doesn't do what I want it to do. And I'm really annoyed, and I don't want to have to go and buy another walrus. I just want my walrus to work. So I'm ringing up walrus tech support here. Right. Yes. Hello. Is that tech? Right. First of all, I've got to apologise to you because, unfortunately, you're probably going to get the wrong end of a long conversation and the short straw here. So I know this isn't your fault, but frequently I will start with something like that, particularly if I know that I really hammer home a complaint, and particularly if I have some very specific actions I want from the company. Especially if it's more than just, I've enabled that tick. So you're working tech support, someone rings up, they're clearly annoyed, but they preface it with going, look, I know this isn't your fault. I know you're simply there to help me, but this is what's happened. And I'm really annoyed about it.
He's walrus annoyed
I think
about
it's
his walrus.
I think it's okay to say that. It's okay to say how bleeped off you are, if you make sure that what you say is not an attack on the person at the other end of the phone.
Screen.
That's actually a fair point because from my point of view, I'm like, right, I can log this and pass this straight to a manager. Thanks. Okay, bye. Gone. That's pretty much.
And actually, that might be what I want. What I want might be, look, this is where I'm at. Can you help me just get to the right person so I can stop wasting your time and my time? Because I know that you can't do what I want. And I know it's not your fault. I know you can only do certain things. So help me to help you to get me off the phone to where I need to be and not in your ear.
What a brilliant set of roleplay. Good job, Screen. I give you a 10 out of 10.
Almost like I've done this before.
Well, see, that's
But it's
the thing.
actually an easier call to deal with than the one that just rants, and it's more likely to get to the outcome. Because if I do start like that, 9 times out of 10, I'm going to end up speaking to the manager I want pretty quickly, without a major delay, because the guy's actually going to want to help me and get me to the right place. And when they pass it over to the manager, they're going to be going, sorry, Bob, there's actually someone with a real problem here. Can you help him out? And that passover is so different to the, I've got another one here. And already Bob has got a different mindset about helping me fix my problem.
Bob, I feel like you should be American. Bob. It's because we got an American
Walrus
Bob.
broke. Bob, fix the walrus. So yes, no, tech support. That's if I really need something doing, that's how I will lead into a call, be it support, be it tech support, be it customer service. And what I'm sometimes going to do on that call is say, but here's something else if you're calling. Know what you want, know why it is reasonable, and be able to justify it. If I want a Ferrari, don't bother. It is, and I bought 17 of them, and the last one was irrevocably damaged when it turned up, and you want a replacement, that's reasonable. But if you know what you want...
If I ordered 17 Ferraris from the gem store and one of them didn't turn up, I want my 17th Ferrari from the gem store.
Yes, but I'm talking about wanting the 18th for free. But anyway,
Yes. Now, there was...
If you know what you want, can justify it, you're more likely to get it to conclude. Sorry, Pseudo, go.
I was just going to say, go ahead and finish your thing on that, because there is one other thing we're going to tackle before the end of the show. Are you done with your thing? Your thing.
My
My
My,
thing.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if my walrus is going to get the care and support it deserves yet. I've not spoken to Barb, but apart from that, I live in hope that my walrus problems will be fixed at this point.
Ed, do you have his bucket?
His walrus bucket?
Do you have his walrus bucket?
I think I've already passed it on to my manager. Hold on here.
For those of you who understand about the missing bucket and having someone stole it, the walrus's bucket. I take my hat off to you. Old school internet meme for those who actually follow the internet. It's really funny, but Mizpah doesn't get that kind of humor anyway. So yes, we do have quite a few quick bites in this, might I add. This is brilliant, and I love it, and I appreciate it. However, the other one I wish to bring up, Adverto asks, or I believe it's Inverto. Yes, speaking about the evolution of the GM system within an MMO. This is something I definitely want to hit.
Thank you.
Because we're bringing it back to MMOs.
We get off of stats and we get onto games and more people-centric, soft focus support.
Wait, hold on. You said centric and soft focus and management bingo.
It might be, but it's true because the wow, he's actually going into soft focus as Mizpah. That's a whole different sort of.
I was just waiting for a whole new paradigm to emerge.
Paradigm. Anyway, as it stands, in all seriousness, I think there's a lot of support that we've not covered that's to do with customer service and the way that impacts PR and customer service within games and how that all interlinks, and we've not focused on that a lot. And I'm glad that we're moving to that. So I will shut up and let Pseudo talk.
Let me talk. I was going to ask you. Now, in this particular case, Adverto's been talking about the GM system in WoW, back in the old days where if you had a problem, you all solve it, check out the beat while my DJ revolves it. You used to have a GM that would actually contact you in some kind of funny roleplay manner, you know, through the mist of smoke, GM Aardvark appears, because now we have walruses and aardvarks on the show. We might as well. So, GM Aardvark appears and is here to help solve your problems. And then, you know, there were times where they'd actually show up physically in game and sort of walk you through or talk to you, etc. They were actual people. It isn't like that in today's day and age. Did you have experience with that with other MMOs? And I asked this of you specifically, Screen, because you played WoW for 2 weeks and then you stopped.
Gave up. Got bored. Whatever. As it stands, yes, actually, and ironically on really, really cheap Chinese port games that were managed out of China by GMs, and there were still GMs there. You know, the sort of thing that you would call pay to win, but free to play. You know, but basically pay to win, and yet they still had GMs, and those GMs would turn up and they would still port you. You know, you have problems in viewing an item, or the game doesn't work properly, and they port you away and give you, you know, they port you away, and suddenly you have like all the items. Yeah, GM items, and they go, show me how that doesn't work, and you show them how it doesn't work, and they'd be like, oh, you found a bug. Here, keep your original items, and we won't ban you, sort of thing. And they would turn up. It doesn't happen. You're right. It doesn't happen in today's day and age. A lot more of that. It might still happen in WoW based on their business model, but from AAA MMOs that have come out,
it's less common. It's less common, but there are some reasons why it's less common as well.
Well, yeah, but I'll leave that to you. I won't go into that then. But the point is, it doesn't happen as much, and from a player on the ground's perspective, that puts a lot of focus on that time between where you put in a support ticket and when you get a response. It feels less personal than it would if someone turns up, and it makes it a lot. Let's be honest. It makes it a lot more difficult to communicate information. It makes it a lot more crucial that information is put across, read and understood, and responded to correctly in the first instance. That first contact is going to determine the manner in which your interaction with that company's support procedures go forwards. where the GM, if the GM doesn't understand you, if the GM turns up and the GM will go, I don't know what you mean. And you'll explain yourself, and 30 seconds later they'll know what you mean. Whereas if that doesn't happen with the support, if that happens with the support ticket, it could be 7 days before you get a response back. And you're going to be mighty pissed, and then you're going to be... So it has a major impact on a player's experience, providing those people in-game. And well, honestly, it's massively better for a company's PR to be able to have a live response team of some sort available. But I'm sure if Pseudo lets Mizpah, he will explain why that's the case.
I am going to let Mizpah.
Okay.
Because for some reason I have the power on this show.
By the power of Mizpah. Anyway.
You need a countdown clock for him, you know. We need that.
Then I'll just start talking faster.
Screen, just so that you know, I need that for you. There are times where you diatribe and you go on and on. It's great. I love it. I just get to sit back and listen.
So 2 things. So firstly, one of the most awesome in-game experiences I ever had, one of those direct interactions, and it was so unexpected, and it was the source of it blew me away. And that was playing Vanguard in, admittedly, an early beta with a reasonably low server pop. And I turned around and said something in a channel, posed a question, something about the game design and how it was supposed to work. And the next thing I know, this very large dragon griffin thing appears next to me. Literally, in a puff of smoke. This ridiculously ultra-epic thing no one has ever seen before appears to your left. And we have Doom on a griffin who pops up to answer my question. To reference that to people, that's Brad McQuaid, the guy that runs the game at the studio. Now, that's not an experience you quickly forget, even 10 years later. Nor is it the norm, nor is it common, nor should everyone necessarily expect that experience. I certainly didn't, but it was the unexpectedness of it that means it still sticks in your memory. The same thing works if it's just GM Bob. The fact that GM Bob bothered to pop up and go, hey, got a minute, can I help you question? That level of that human interaction, that personalization of the experience is fantastic. And there's still a million screenshots of GM Bob floating around to this day. You want to say something, Screen?
No, I'm just exercising my sore finger. See?
I thought I was saying, can I speak now? My bladder's full. I'd like to go. No?
Wireless. I'd just go. Although you wouldn't be good for you lot listening, but still.
That's right. You've got a wireless headphones. Oh gosh, help us all.
Please leave the wireless behind. Now, as to why it doesn't happen very much, it's actually more and more difficult with the complexity of the games. Because at the end of the day, GM is seen as an ultimate arbiter of power and influence in an online game. And if the GM does something wrong in person, it will come back to bite them, virally, PR, and everything else. There are a lot of horror stories about GMs doing what they shouldn't do. There are GMs that have lost their jobs because they allowed someone to get hold of an item that let them one-shot bosses and run around with it, mentioning not where. That means if you are management, you're going, how can I make sure all my interactions are consistent and safe and don't negatively hurt my PR or player perceptions? Whilst at the same time saying, how can I make sure all my interactions are cost-effective, customer service effective, PR effective, lead to happy players, lead to retention, lead to lower queues, make my KPIs better, buzzwords, key performance indicators, stuff they get measured on, that they have to set and design. How many tickets are open at the end of the month? Something like that. There's so much they have to consider. And I think someone just died because I said KPI live on air.
And I just realized
I thought it was that too, but
my tongue was going the wrong way, so apparently gravity's going this way, and I'm not really hanging. It's really weird, but anyway.
You're more and more likely to need a very high level of trust to allow people to interact in something like an MMO.
Yeah.
You're probably going to make what is a sensible call and go, if you're first line support and you ain't been here 5 years, you ain't popping up in game. Follow these policies and procedures. There are those people high enough off the food chain who have perhaps a little bit more leeway, but then the onus is on them to get it right all of the time.
See, that's the thing, one of the most, there's so many different levels of support with MMO. You've got the people who will help you get your account back, and that's a very dangerous and very, very big job to be involved in, because if someone has the ability to access your account, be it resetting a password or something else like that, or resetting an email address, you are opening up the chance for someone to big buzzword for my own particular industry, social engineer somebody to gain access to an account, and they have to look out for things like that, and they have to watch for things. So that's one type of support. You've got another support in game where if someone's having issues, you've had a big diatribe, my turn. So you have people who are having a big amount of issues, say, in game with their particular items or bugs or things like that they find. That's in game. And if you give a GM tools to do things like create items or to teleport people around or to do things like that, it is a very big set of responsibilities and tools, because you're letting them play in technically the God code of a game. And that can be big, big deals. There's also other types of support that are out there depending upon the type of game you have. So, it's support isn't just this tiny little thing where one person, and maybe a company has decided, the triage department goes, okay, what's your problem? You go, I have a problem with the fact that I can't log in. Cool, sending you to the right place. I have a problem with the fact that when I log in, my character is naked. Cool, sending you to the right place. That could be where triage sits. You don't know why that's a problem. I'm not saying it is a problem. I'm just saying there's so many.
Log into Pinktua every time I log.
That is your own fault, not mine.
Being a Pinktua.
That you have to suffer. That was your own decision. But my point is,
I have no guys here. This is blatant discrimination. If there are not at least an equal number of Tuas to everything else, it's discrimination.
Well, I hate to say it to you, but Gazi can stand up to 3 of us who are exiles for life. Oh, wait, you know what? No. You know what? This is not Cosmotronic. So I'm going to just go right out there and say, if I could, believe me, I'd be playing Dominion. But it doesn't work that way. I've got to fall under the banner of Enigma's Chua for life. Yo. Anyway.
Wow.
But no. So my point is, there's a whole bunch of different types of customer support and support out there, period. Not just customers, but there's support also for the development teams, There's a whole bunch of support that's out there. And in the end, we want to make certain you get to the right place, which means, please, folks, bring your good stuff. Now, if you want to do your piece, say it now, Mizpah, because we are running a little over.
It was just a one line I want to interject on your first sentence. You talked about the responsibility was tricky. I'll point out for a fact in WoW, it is a dedicated specialist department that deals with those particular tickets. They have to go through a different level of internal training. They have to have been there for a certain amount of time. And everything they do is audited by yet another department. And for those individuals, breaking their guidelines is instant dismissal because of the level of import when you've got direct access to people's accounts, gold, personal details, and the like.
Absolutely. And, honestly, it's all about hopefully having a good experience. I mean, one of the things that sticks with me through years of being in customer support, it makes a difference whether I'm on the sales floor trying to sell somebody shoes, whether I'm behind a computer screen trying to help somebody install a piece of software, or whether I'm behind trying to help somebody understand why they would like a certain module installed versus another module, because that's its own form of support. The key thing is always the same. When you're needed, people remember you exist. When you are not needed, because everything is going smooth, people forget about you. So I am going to stress, if you do not know when customer support day is, find out and at least leave a hello or a thank you for anybody you know who is in the support industry, because it is not easy, because they have to deal with us. And we, in general, are a bunch of complainers. We really are. So that's my only sense.
Scream, any closing words? No,
when
you
you
don't have any.
Shut your face.
Shush.
Right, okay. Being quick about it. When you approach support, like I said before, be open and assume that they're there to help you. Like we said, let them help you, be there to help them help you. But something that we haven't touched on hugely, but I do want to, with our whole campfire thing, put that slant on. Be aware of how much power you actually have. I'm not saying abuse it, but I am saying when Le Poop meets the rotating metal bit, be aware that you're part of a larger community and that it is in the interest of any games developer, studio or publisher to have a happy player base. And if you're part of a community that's getting upset because something's broken and it's not fixed, feel free to be vocal about it if it's reasonable to do so, because you've got more power than you realise.
So I'll try and approach this from both sides very, very quickly. If you do need to speak to support, treat them like human beings. You'll do way better, be that business, customer service, whatever it might be. Any internal department, they are people trying to fix problems. They're dealing with lots of problems. They're probably having a bad day. Be nice to them. Your problems will get fixed much faster and with much more success if you do. Secondly, make sure you actually need to speak to those people. We all don't like to do it. We're all guilty of it. We don't read the manual. We don't go and check out the FAQ on the website. We didn't necessarily click the reset password link and check all the other bits on the page. If you actually do so, you might find out you didn't need to wait for 3 days in that queue. It's worthwhile you spending 10 minutes of your time to sanity check what it is that's actually causing the problem and use other resources before you pick up the phone to support. But your final one is be aware of where you sit in the support importance. If you haven't got a bleeding gunshot wound to the head and you'd just like someone to paint your fingernails pink, don't go in thinking it should be done just as importantly as someone else that can't play the game, can't log in, can't progress, can't whatever else. Be aware of your own importance in the community, but don't overstate it, and don't treat yourself as more important than the rest of the world.
I think that's a very fair way to go about things. So I now pose a very, very challenging question to Mizpah, and you as well, Screen, if you would like to chime in with this. What are we discussing next week?
Wow, what are we discussing next week? Do you want me to set the tone? I'll pick a topic for you.
Oh, go for it.
Oh god, she actually calls my bluff. I don't know what you've got.
I'm looking forward to this. So the show of the week coming from Screenager is...
Seriously, pick something. What would you guys like us to discuss next week? That's what I want to know. If these two who are with me can't...
Right.
This way. These two can't pick something. You pick something. You tell us what you want to know. And while you guys think about this, because I'm going to ask you this afterwards, I'm going to give you some heads up. Tomorrow, we have Tasha joining us again on the campfire. Love this lady, love her to bits and pieces. And we are going to be talking about, of all things, internal support within guild structures. Where do you draw the line when you finally say, cannot help you anymore? Along with some other stuff. Right, Screen?
Indeed. Basically, when do I get to kick people?
Well, even if Screen doesn't, I do have a topic.
Fair enough. And then on Wednesday, we have the Blizzard forecast, where we again pull together our largest collection of hosts and put them through some of the craziest rigmaroles you could possibly think of. We have not Screenager, of all things. Screenager's not on that show. I'm trying to put Screen everywhere today. I'm sorry. But we have Mizpah, we have Real Blank Space, who hopefully will be joining us, and hopefully everything's going well for him.
If Blank's not feeling up to it, I mean, I can do Blank. I can do Blank anyway. It's fine.
Can I get your Blank impression?
Not unless I'm on the show, in which case, then I'll do it.
Oh,
I'll be waiting for that.
Dang. Okay, so we've got Blank Space, we've got Parv, we've got Mizpah, we've got Dr. Marshmallows, we've got Trollden, and we have myself as we discuss the Blizzard IP. Thursday at 1 p.m. UK time. Please make note, Thursday is the time that is different than any others. We have developers who join us to discuss all kinds of things. Last week, we had Team 17 talking about what they offer the independent developer. Team 17 doesn't just produce worms. They do so much more for the independent developer. And we had quite a few independent developers who would like to actually come on the show and teach people about the industry itself. So if you would like to learn about independent development, or if there is a particular topic you want us to know about, you need to let us know, because we will go find the people to answer your questions. We've had some people who would like to learn about shading. We're trying to get a shader on. We have a whole bunch of people coming in. That's Thursday. Friday, we're back to the campfire with Gazi, Kai, Mizpah, and myself as we discuss all things Wildstar related. Saturday, we're back to Top Draw, and this Saturday, we are actually giving our final scores on Battle for Gia. It's a big one because it's all about community engagement, one of my favorite areas of discussion and topics. And it's going to be an interesting show because that's the last one we're doing about Battle for Gia. We're then moving into a brand new card game. I wonder what's next, considering the fact that, and Marsh did a tally on this. This is actually kind of funny. The tally has it that if we were able to go through the entire list of people who we've been in touch with card game wise, we have a year and a half's worth of content for games alone for Top Draw. So I'm never going to be bored for work there. And thank you. It is Cosmotronic, not the campfire for Friday. I am just, can you tell, just a little bit tired. And then next week, after Saturday, Mizpah and myself are back. We'll see if Screen wants to make this a consistent thing. I like having him around. I do.
Do we have to?
Excuse me?
You know, you complainings make me want to do it more.
That was the idea. Hook, line, and sinker every time. Sorry, Screen.
What, pick a fight with you? Yes.
In all honesty, Screen, it's something to consider because, you do bring a balance to the show. Mizpah and I just fight with each other because that's what Mizpah and I do. So having you come on it's kind of fun. But anyway, we'll be back on Monday, and our Monday's topic is going to be...
When is it reasonable to change the difficulty of a game?
So, in short...
All I'm going to say.
Right, changing difficulties it is. And on that note, is there anything you would like to say, Screenager, before we head off?
Nope. I've had a fantastic time with everyone here tonight. It's been great. Despite the fact that Miz turned the difficulty up to expert modes.
That's what we do on a Monday show.
Turn it up to expert mode and then watch him.
And then he basically sits back while I sit there and slowly die from management talk. Yeah. This is his damage over time technique for handling me. But what he doesn't realize, but what he doesn't realize is that I am probably one of the greatest healers in the world. So he can do all the damage over time he wants, but he ain't gonna take me down.
Not without changing the difficulty level.
Not without changing the difficulty level, which is what we'll be discussing next show. Ah, gosh. So, looking into our chat room, because I really want to make certain to say hello and hugs to everyone who has been here. Aussie, thank you so much. Crazy graphics. Amazing to have you around. It is lovely to see, and we picked various people throughout the chat, but it is lovely to see everybody here. And, yeah, if you guys have any questions, comments, or anything else like that, you can hit us up on Twitter. You can hit us up on a Nook. You can hit us up on Facebook. You can hit us up on YouTube. You can hit us up at voice@MMOBuff.TV. Heck, you can even, if you want to, just tweet us as individuals. It's not that big of a deal. And, yeah. Cheesy smile.
Yes.
That's it. No. As the sun comes down on another MMO Buff studio, the sound of the wall ride gently honking in the background, a Screenager says his goodbye.
Hey, what? Bolt your rocket.
I'm sure someone somewhere could translate that, but I'm afraid that's not I. Pseudo, it's time to say goodbye. It's been another show.
Pseudo Pip.
And it's the first time we've had wall ride gently honking in the background. But as always, this is Mizpah, signing off. MMOBuff.TV. See you next week.